next panel takes a closer look at one of India's most celebrated assets, its talent. Titled as India's Talent Advantage, from back office to global innovators, this session explores how the Indian talent force is moving from cost arbitrage to value leadership. This session will be moderated by Ms. Monica Pirgal. Ms. Monica Pirgal, CEO of Bhartiya Converge, is reshaping India's GCCs by building integrated and innovative centers. With over 25 years of experience at Neiman Marcus, Lowe's, and Goldman Sachs, she is a pioneering figure in repositioning GCCs to drive real business impact.
Joining her are Mr. Hitesh Oberoi, PGP 1996, co-promoter, MD, and CEO of InfoEdge, which owns platforms like Naukri.com, 99 Acres, and Jeevansathi. He's been at the forefront of India's digital talent ecosystem, enabling millions of careers through data, platforms, and skilling. Welcome, sir. Also joining the panel is Mr. Satish Betadpur, Senior Managing Director and Head of Investments at State Street Investment Management, India. Satish has 30+ years of experience in finance and investment management with leadership roles that include Principal at Bryce Canyon Advisors, CEO at Kambata Securities Limited, and Managing Director at TIAA before joining State Street in March 2018. Welcome, sir. And finally, rounding up the panel is Mr. Ankur Mittal, Chief Technology Officer and Managing Director at Lowe's India, based in Bengaluru. He oversees the overall strategy, omni-channel platforms, IT operations, and infrastructure engineering for Lowe's India. With over 20 years of technology experience, he has been instrumental in scaling Lowe's India since joining in 2019. Let's welcome the panel to the stage. And a gentle reminder to scan the QR code and send in your questions. We'll try to accommodate them on this panel.
Can you hear me okay, guys? Okay, good afternoon, and I'm hoping everyone is coming back after getting your tea and coffees. We don't want the hall to be empty because it's not very motivating to sit here and see some empty chairs, right? So please encourage your friends to come back because there's a coffee break after this as well. We were just talking in the speaker's lounge and we realized that we have something in common. I mean, at least I have something in common or something that we share with each of the panelists. So I thought I'll first break the ice talking about that. So I found my husband on jeevansathi.com. So he's the reason for all my worries today, right? And I'm going to make sure that I take the revenge on the stage. Satish and I have the common connection of Bangalore and the Kannada and all the issues that we have with people not speaking Kannada these days. Ankur and I worked together at Lowe's. He used to be my manager for 4 years, and it's such a privilege to have all the veterans here, really senior folks, and I have this opportunity to moderate this session here. So thank you, IIMB, and thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. We're talking today about India, and India moving away from being a global back office support center to being the technology and innovation hub. And we have a couple of them with MNC and GCC background. And of course, Hitesh brings a lot of value from a talent standpoint. So jumping straight into the questions, Satish, Ankur, you could take this question. You both are from the GCC industry. So from your perspective, how has the GCC industry evolved in the past 30 years? And is this shift of talent real? Moving from back office to innovation, is this shift real? I'd like to hear your views on that.
All right. I hope you can hear me. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's a great pleasure to be here on this panel with such extremely eminent folks. Thank you again. So State Street started its journey in Bangalore or in India in 2008 as a back office, cost arbitrage, all of that. And then at the same time, we had joint ventures with HCL and Sintel. So, you know, we had multi-pronged approach to being in India. And fast forward to 2017, 18, we thought, State Street thought that, you know, we have learned how to be in India, what to do in India. And at that particular point in time, we said, we need to move into some more front office kind of work. So that's when they hired me. I'm from the investment management, front office, trading, research background. So they hired me at that point and said, look, let's build out a front office. At that particular point in time, the company was still very hesitant to move the real work. It was just kind of like, you know, we were doing quant models, for example, and we were just doing back testing as opposed to really developing models. So, and also doing more compliance work, operations kind of work. Even in technology, it was more testing and stuff. So it was just kind of like you're getting your feet wet at that particular point in time and just kind of seeing how things would go. And at that particular point, when I joined, I made one very important decision. I said, look, we're going to hire top-end talent and bring them into the office, even though the work was not top quality at that particular point in time. As I said, we were doing back testing, et cetera. So I just went out to like IIScs and IITs and really got young folks, very ambitious, top-of-the-class kind of folks come into our office. And there was a risk to that because, you know, they could get bored in 6 months and then leave. But, you know, what worked out was these folks were so good at what they were doing that the confidence at the headquarters in Boston and other places was so high that they started getting us more quality work, as I would put, and we'll talk more about it as you know, the panelists and during the course of this event. So that was the journey. And on the corporate side, which so I'm on the investment management. The corporate side is the custody business. They also got confidence to kind of like bring all the joint ventures into their own fold. So we've kind of bought out the joint ventures, and we have like 20,000 people right now, and it's like more than, I think, close to 50% of our staff globally is in India in 6 cities. And so the journey has been, you know, actually very good for us. And as we continue to talk about it, I will tell you more about how we are progressing from here. So I'll stop there and I'll let Ankur take over.
So I think in retail, if you look at it, there's companies who have come in for last 20 years, for example, Target, and after that you saw Tesco coming in, Walmart coming in. As Lowe's, we are pretty late to the game. We came in 11 years back. But if you look at it today, what we do is every single corporate function, what you have back in US, is also mimicked over here. But the point is that we have around 35% of the corporate workforce sitting here. I will give you some examples which will tell us that we have moved away from just doing the back office functions to kind of really doing cutting edge innovation work. So if, for example, everybody is talking about AI, we do 70 to 80% of Lowe's AI work from here. And right now what we have done is we have rolled out customer facing and associates who are facing customers, the AI for them. And now we are working towards rolling out the AI for corporate productivity. And if you look at it, there was a study published that Lowe's is probably the 3rd company in the retailers who is using the AI to the best in United States. So first one is definitely everybody knows is Amazon, second is Walmart, and third is Lowe's. I'll give you a couple of other examples. When it comes to technology, everybody knows that people are coming to India and finding the talent and doing the high-end work. But when it comes to the business functions, that's where we see that GCCs are still yet to mature. So 40% of our merchandising, which is hard for retailer, is done from India. 90% of the floor plans, 90% of the planograms, 100% of private brand packaging design. When it comes to marketing, 100% of the content, 100% of social and email marketing, 100% of the Lowe's media network content, and performance marketing done from India. The business of Lowe's Media Network was started in India. When it became $5 million business, that's when we started hiring in US. So when we talk about things getting born in India for the US companies. Similarly, if any of you visit Lowe's store in US, any checkout machines which you interact with, whether it's self-checkout, assisted checkout, mobile checkout, 100% grown in India, built in India using commodity hardware with our own software. The cost of doing business is 60% cheaper than any of the closest competitor like NCR's, Fujitsu, Zebra of the world, and 5 times more stable. You can move the features in every week instead of waiting for your vendor partners to do it for 3 months, 6 months. And the best part is that we have launched a new company which is going to commercialize the software which we have built, primarily these two. And both were built and born in India. I think the game has changed drastically when it comes to how we are looking at GCCs. And every GCC has to start looking at it that they got to be doing something which can create the impact for the organization and not just talk about the numbers. So now if I look at it, 100% of the technology sourcing for the company like Lowe's, which is $84 billion company, happens from India, whether it is cable to NVIDIA contract. Now if you talk about it, 100% of the global travel, 100% of the transportation sourcing is done from India. So I think GCCs are moving into a very, very different segment where they used to be. Now I'll give you one small story. 2004, I used to work for Wipro, and through Wipro I was working for Target. And 2004 is when Target opened the GCC. The US manager used to come to me and saying that, hey, I have given this work to Target India, but why don't you also do the work? And whoever, if Target India does fine and the work is running fine in production, then it's fine. If not, then I'll ask you to put the code in production, and I'll say that Target India did this code. Today, if you look at Target, they are doing amazing work from India, whether it is technology, marketing, supply chain, merchandising, every single function of Target corporate being done in Target India, and they are doing amazingly well. So I'll stop here, Monica.
Very insightful, Ankur, and I'm sure the audience will resonate. Truly global innovation happening out of India, right? As Bhartiya Converge, when we talk to some of the incoming GCCs, they're not even talking about back office, they're not even talking about cost arbitrage. It's not that we are telling them cost arbitrage is out of the window. To some extent, it's still around, but the conversations which is in the forefront today is what can you innovate out of India? What can you do differently? Can you do tech transformation? So these are real conversations, and we have really moved the India piece from one spectrum to the other. Going to Hitesh, you come from the talent side of the world. So from your vantage point, they spoke about global talent. Can you talk global innovation? Can you speak to Indian innovation done by the talent today in India, and whether our talent, are there any particular segments in which the Indian talent is fast forwarding the entire innovation piece? Is there any particular segment? Is there any particular city or geography which is leading within India for this?
So we are, I think, living in a very different India today. We started doing Naukri almost 27, 28 years ago. I graduated from IIT in 1994. Back then, it was very difficult for an IIT graduate to actually get a job in India, which is why some went overseas and some did an MBA, some went to the government. That's what IIT graduates back then used to do. Even 15 years ago, things were, of course, a lot better thanks to companies like IT services companies and the IT success story. IT services success story everybody is familiar with. TCS, Wipro, Infosys. So they did a fantastic job and created a lot of employment and grew like a hockey stick for several years. And I often tell people the reason India is where it is today is because of the success of the IT industry. Now, but in the last 15, 17 years, we are seeing a very different India from where we sit. And while we run, and we have an operating business, we run Naukri.com, 99 Acres, Jeevan Sathi, but we are also an investor in a lot of startups. So some of our more famous investments are companies like Zomato and Policy Bazaar. We were the first investors in these two companies. But over the last 15, 17 years, we've invested in over 120 startups in the country, right? And several are now doing really well. Some have gone public, some are getting ready to go public, some will struggle. That is the nature of the beast. But what has changed in the last 15, 17 years is that entrepreneurship in India has become mainstream, right? So there are a lot of people who are willing to take risk, which was not the case maybe 20 years ago. Most people wanted a safe job out of campus. Today, out of campus, there are companies starting. On campus, there are companies starting. Enough people who want to work for startups. When we used to hire for Naukri in the early years, it was very hard to attract people. Nobody wanted to work for a startup. Today, it's a very different India. People would rather work for startups than for sometimes even more established companies. And as a result, and also, of course, what has happened over time is that the venture capital ecosystem has developed, right? So there's a lot of capital also available, willing to fund people who are risk takers and who want to build products out of India, who want to build products for India out of India, who want to build products for the world out of India. So there's, and the So fast forward today, maybe there are a few thousand venture-backed, well-funded startups. There are hundreds of thousands of people working in these startups, trying to innovate. There are lots of digital companies, internet companies, which have gone public in the last 5, 7 years. They're all thinking big. They're all thinking of how to become, if you are a $1 billion company, you think of becoming a $10 billion company. If you're a $10 billion company, you're making plans to become a $100 billion company. If you're a $10 billion company, you're thinking of how you can become a $100 million company. So there's a lot of action in India. And, it's also, and since I'm also connected with a couple of universities, I can see how things are changing at the university level as well. So, a lot of undergraduates who are graduating out of tech schools, for example, are staying back. They're not going overseas anymore, right? There are a bunch of people, kids who still go overseas after class 12, but there are enough who are saying, listen, I want to work and I want to do a startup, or I want to work for a company before I go to business school or before I do something else. And there are enough opportunities for them to. So I think outside the US and China, India is perhaps the largest source of talent, of this kind of talent. I don't think any other country even comes close. And so, and from a Naukri standpoint, I can tell you that we work with 120,000 companies in India. And maybe we work with about 1,500 GCCs as well. And we are seeing the quality of jobs also on Naukri go up, right? So till 10 years ago, most of the bulk of the jobs on Naukri were, jobs which used to pay 5 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs per annum. And they were mostly software services jobs. But two things which we are seeing. One, the jobs are becoming more premium. They're becoming more high-end. They're becoming more specialized. So AI jobs, ML jobs, jobs in startups, jobs in clinical research, design engineering jobs. So these are the kind of jobs we are now seeing a lot more on Naukri than was perhaps the case 5, 7 years ago. And of course, the economy is also diversifying a lot. So we are seeing a lot of action in sectors like healthcare, in sectors like financial services, in sectors like education, travel, tourism, engineering, infrastructure. So we are seeing a lot of such jobs as well, which was perhaps not the case 8, 10 years ago. So I think it's a very different India that we are getting into. Of course, AI and ML are the hero of those job listings, and those jobs are up 50%, 70%, 80% year on year. Every company wants to hire these folks. But yeah, things are changing very rapidly.
Thank you, Hitesh. No panel or no discussions in any conference can go away without, mentioning the word AI or AI/ML. So, what we are hearing is we have a lot of talent in India, whether it is India innovation or global innovation. And from Ankur and Satish, we heard about some real success stories of how India is driving innovation from front and center. With that and our risk appetite have increased, we are ready to take more risk with our talent, with the kind of deliverables we can do out of India. Startups have fueled that entire intention of India to do something bigger and stronger. So with that, Satish and Ankur, in the GCC space specifically, right, has this entire shift with all the successes that you've seen, the growth you've seen, the innovation that's happening out of your centers, do you think that India's relevance and the power has changed in your global leadership team, your positioning in the team, or the GCC positioning, in the boardroom back in your headquarters? If you can also support your answers with some big wins that you've had. Ankur spoke about a few. Satish, if you could. And what are some of the key enablers? How are you able to do it?
Okay, let me get started. Like I said, we were a back office, and there was a cost arbitrage. That has changed quite dramatically. There's still the back office, but more and more front office work is coming our way, and the leadership for that is also coming our way. I'll give you an example. We are a $5 trillion asset manager, one of the top 3 or 4 in the world. And we manage money across all, almost all sovereign wealth funds, banks of the world, reserve banks of the world, or central banks of the world. So our clientele is extremely sophisticated. And for example, transaction cost is a big deal for them, right? So the whole transaction cost analysis was done out of Boston. We had a small team in Bangalore. Over time, that's shifted. The head of transaction cost analysis is now based in Bangalore. Similarly, the head of APAC compliance sits out of Bangalore. A few years ago, it was just a big team that was doing compliance. All leadership was elsewhere. Similarly, the head of RFP, which RFP is a big deal in our business, that was based out of some other location. I think it was Stamford, Connecticut. Now it's in Bangalore. So the roles are increasingly, the leadership roles are coming our way. So the other big thing that has happened is India is now looked at as a strategic market to be invested into, meaning we want to access local retail Indian investors now. So that's a big push that's coming on. We've made one acquisition in the recent, few months ago. It's in the press. And that's, for us, that is an acquisition that we believe will empower Indian investors. Similarly, we are looking at other fintechs. And so we are going away from being a cost center. And my role is to take our firm from being, my division or my investment management, from being a cost center to a profit center. And I've set a goal for myself. By next year, we should be a profit center for us. And I'll give you another example. In the past, my CEO, Cyrus Tarapurwala, who's retired now, I rarely communicate with him. Once a year, he would show up, and there would be a big song and dance when he came, and that was it. And maybe a couple of other, leadership meets that I'd interact with him. Now I'm with my CEO on a daily basis because she wants to know what is happening in India, because as we are going into 2030 to be the 3rd largest economy in the world, we need to have India presence. And being in a GCC and being a successful GCC helps her because she knows we've delivered. And so she doesn't need to go out and hire a team. She's looking at the team that's already delivered to deliver the next leg, which is to take us to being a profit center in India. So that's a big change, right? So, and I think that's the journey a lot of people will have. State Street, I think, in some sense, we've been ahead of the curve. We're not well known, but I think in the next few months, we plan to be pretty much a household name. I think, mark my words, we will be in your face talking about State Street products, and this is a big change for us, from being an unknown back office to being in the front of retail India.
Amazing. Ankur?
Just to add to a few things. So I'll tell you a small story. 2019, when I joined Lowe's, we were close to around 1,800 people and around 15 people who we call it as a leadership team, director, senior director, VPs, and those kind of things. And out of those 15, only 10 were in the main stream. Other 5 were in the enabling functions like finance, HR, facilities, kind of things. Today, we are close to around 5,000 people team, 5,500 people team, and we have 150, more than 150 leaders, and every single one of them has a global role, has a functional responsibility of managing a particular application or a capability. Today, in Lowe's, we have close to around 3,500 technology or engineering team. If you become a people manager, you will end up having a global role. So nobody can become a people manager without managing an application or a capability globally. I think things have changed quite a bit for us, and I think the kind of talent we are generating and the kind of talent which is also coming back from US and Europe back to country is also helping us enable some of those global roles and decision-making abilities and having the seat on the table, whether it is a executive leadership or a CEO table or even at times with the board. Because, for example, the company which I talked about, which we launched, Lowe's Meridius, it was supposed to be approved by Lowe's, and we made the presentation to the board that this makes sense and is going to be a multi-hundred million dollar company in few years.
No, this is amazing, and I can resonate with Ankur's story of Lowe's because I'm 7 years at Lowe's. Have seen that in close quarters too. The next question will go to Harish. Harish, Ankur spoke about how they are leveraging AI in Lowe's, right? How are you leveraging AI in your Naukris, Jeevan Sathis, and those kind of businesses, and the businesses where you've invested? And it's interesting. We are seeing that the IT services industry is almost kind of stagnant or going in negative. But if you look at the GCC industry, it is showing a growth of almost 40% year on year. So is it because of AI? What are your thoughts on that?
So we, of course, at InfoEdge, we have a very strong innovation mindset. We have a 1,000-strong team in product and engineering and data science and design. We're trying to constantly sort of working towards improving our platforms, building new platforms, building new products, features, etc. In the last 5 years, we have grown our AI team from about 10, 12 people to 140 strong today, right? And this is the core data science and machine learning and AI team. There's a lot of AI tools being used in different departments. I'm not counting that. So I'm not counting the Gen AI piece, which is very, very new, and where we have a lot of people working. The core data science, because we are a very data-rich platform, millions of transactions every sort of day on our platform. So we have a lot of data, and we can use that data to. In the beginning, we use that data to improve the user experience on our platform for all our users. So a lot of the work was in recommendation engines, search engines, improving the user experience on the platform. And I think we are almost done with that journey. So for example, in Jeevan Sathi, the matching technology is all AI, right?
It worked. I can say that.
In the job portal, we get millions of job seekers every day. We get hundreds of thousands of jobs. So showing the right job to the right person, matching jobs to CVs is a very big problem, very tough problem. All this is now done through AI, right? Not possible to do it through human sort of rules and systems. And we've seen massive gains in terms of metrics we track on all our platforms after applying these latest sort of technologies. We've now graduated to launching data products. So because we are using our data, cleaning it, generating insights from the data, and sharing those insights with companies. So we have, for example, in Naukri, we have launched products like Talent Pulse, Competition Pulse, Market Pulse to give people a sense of what's happening in the job market, how they should be planning their hiring, how they should be looking to compensate people, how is their brand perceived in the marketplace, basis the data we're getting on our platforms. Okay. Now we are working on the next leg, which is agentic AI. So we've launched a sourcing automation tool. So right now what happens is people log into Naukri, they search our database, then they shortlist CVs, and they send an email, then they call up people, And sometimes by the time you're done with all this and you shortlist and ready people for interviews, it can take 10 days, right? And all this can be done through an agent. So we know what you're looking for. The agent will search our database. The agent will contact people. The agent will do the phone call. The agent will ask a few questions, and it'll produce a short list for you. So what used to take 10 days earlier can now be done in maybe 10 hours, right? So that's the kind of stuff we are seeing at least, and we are working on in our company. And now we are, and of course, besides this, AI for productivity, AI for efficiency, AI for velocity. All sort of departments continue to use AI in several ways. Externally, IT services versus GCCs, I think that, the jury's still out on how IT services companies will, if they're massive and they've grown over the last few years and they've been through their ups and downs. And even today, I can tell you there are lots of IT services companies which are growing pretty rapidly, especially the mid-sized companies. So there are companies we work with who are still hiring a lot of people and who are transforming. And then there are lots of new companies who are focused on AI and machine learning and analytics who are growing rapidly as well. GCCs, of course, are growing much faster, and especially on the premium job. And I think that's good news because, while we were creating a lot of jobs, we were perhaps not creating enough high-quality jobs, high-paying jobs. And that's, I think, beginning to happen with GCCs because they're moving up the value chain. Mostly in functions, from our data, what I can say is mostly in functions like AI and machine learning and analytics and in these new sort of business type of functions. Not so much right now still on the R&D side, on the engineering side, but I think that's only a matter of time. Because what we are beginning to see in India now is deep tech startups for the first time, in places like Bangalore especially, right? A lot of robotics companies, a lot of space companies, a lot of defense technology companies, startups today, a lot of biotech companies, biosystems companies. These companies, I mean, you never found them in India till very recently, but now there are lots of people who are staying back, and a lot of the action is, by the way, at IIT Chennai, at ISC Bangalore, in the south. Manufacturing, after a long time, is beginning to take off. So the economy is diversifying. It's just becoming a lot broader, and it's creating lots of opportunities. And also the geopolitical situation is such that the country wants to be self-reliant in deep technologies. And you're seeing that action beginning to emerge. And what will happen after a while is that you'll have a lot of PhDs, you'll have a lot of R&D happening. And once that talent becomes available in India, and that talent becomes a lot more trained, then everybody will get onto the bandwagon. And every engineering company will also say, listen, we want to hire these people in India and so on. That's what we are beginning to see now.
What I'm hearing from all three of you is, with the innovation talent and with AI also being in the forefront, the startups adding to it, all the organizations, including GCC and your organization too, Hitesh, we are not just innovating, but we are also adding value to, we are monetizing our offerings and adding to the global revenues or to the Indian organization's revenue. So I'll conclude the panel here. Thank you so much for your thoughts. And the organizers decided to test my eyesight. All the three gentlemen are wearing spectacles, but I have to read the question. I'll try. So this question is to Hitesh. Hitesh, based on the data from Naukri.com, what is the real ratio of innovator roles like the R&D, product management, and data science versus the traditional back office roles being created by MNCs in India today? And how has this changed in the past 5 years?
So the ratios are still very small. It's for because India is a large economy, we have millions of jobs, millions of people on our platform. So the ratio is still tiny, but what we are seeing is massive growth. So if the overall job market, for example, in India is growing at 5% per annum, right? Some of these roles are growing at 20%, 30%, 40% per annum. Machine learning roles, for example, on Naukri are growing at 100% per annum, right? Data scientist roles are growing at 27, 28, 30% per annum. So in certain certain job categories, certain roles, we are seeing massive growth. Design engineering roles are growing, again, 20, 30, 40% per annum. Clinical research scientist roles are growing very rapidly. So in certain segments, in certain pockets, we are seeing hockey stick growth. But of course, it's on a very small base.
No, you're right. I mean, the number to it may be small, but the ratio or the percentage of growth may be pretty phenomenal, right? For this to see the light of the day in terms of even the numbers growing? What do you all think in terms of the talent today? In the crowd, we have some of them who are in middle management, some of them who are entrepreneurs, their staff or they themselves or all of us also. What do we have to do to be AI ready? What are some of the skills we have to do? Because we know today that if you are not using AI or if you're not aware of AI, you may be irrelevant pretty soon. So by force, by will, or by push, you still have to use AI. So any thoughts on that? What are you making your talent do? Any L&D, any initiatives you're doing in your organizations?
See, for Lowe's, we felt that if we have to make everybody start using AI, we have to start from the top. So we got the CEO, the CXO level, trained by the OpenAI people. And yesterday only the top leadership is sitting in MIT for a one-day training course on the AI, because we want to make sure that if associate is talking to a leader, they are able to talk in the same language. And then what we are trying to do is, or we have done this thing, is that we are rolling out use cases which could be beneficial for all our blue-collar associates. So blue-collar associates are the associate which is serving in the stores. And Lowe's has a one typical problem that being a specialized retailer, we can't move people from plumbing department to electrical to paint to garden center because the knowledge is not there. And that's the most expensive thing for a retailer, the store payroll. So what we created is the Chat GPT, which has all the knowledge of home improvement coming in from Lowe's, as well as for all the products, and a lot of information coming in from the internet. So let's say for a customer walks to an associate who is in the cooling HVAC division and says, I have a 2,400 square feet, my location is this, what type of AC I need, or what type of, I have family of 3, what type of refrigeration I need, or I need the energy efficient. 70% of these questions can be answered now by any of the associates. Don't need a specialization in that skill. And that makes it a lot more easier for us to operate or move people from one department to another department. Now, even if you go to the Lowe's.com and say, how do I fix my leaky faucet? It will give you all the videos. It will give you the product from Lowe's. It will tell you, these are the 7 steps you have to do. These are the material you have to buy. And then it will also, in some time, start creating a cart for you so that you can just click it from there and buy it. So we are making massive, massive investment in AI. Close to 500 people in India, in Lowe's India office, works on different 3 types of AI. One, we call it the traditional AI, which is machine learning, data science. Second is Gen AI, and third one is agentic AI. I feel personally that the AI is not going to eliminate the roles, it's probably going to elevate the roles. And we are seeing it in action every single day.
Thank you, Ankur.
Thanks, Ankur. That's quite impressive. So for us, AI is important, as with all of other firms. There's one issue with using AI within financial services. We are what's called a GSIFI, which is systematically, problematic financial service. I mean, it's more, I forget the acronym for GSIFI, but it is monitored very closely by the Fed. We are, it's a large financial services company, and therefore it's closely monitored by the Fed. With that comes any AI models that we use has to be approved or at least sent to the Fed, and they have to look through it and all of that. So adoption of AI, while we want to do it for all our modelings and picking of stocks or doing asset allocations, that is a little slower because Fed is involved in all of that. I'll digress a little bit because AI is something very close to my heart. Back in the day, I won't tell you which decade it was because it'll tell my age, but back in the day, my master's thesis was in AI. And I wrote a bot in a language called Lisp. That was the language of choice to write AI then. And then I tried to find a job back then, and everybody laughed me off. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll go to Wall Street and make some money. And so that's how I ended up in this. Otherwise, I was more passionate about AI back in that day. But anyway, coming back to now, we have multiple opportunities to use AI. One as market commentary is very easy. And when we're trying to do that, and everybody does that also, all your market commentary probably is AI generated. Performance attribution is another example of AI usage. Our models use NLP and ML, and that's okay, but Gen AI is where another issue comes in, because we don't want to put our data out into the cloud, and also we don't want to use cloud data for our models, because there's lots of issues with people having patent issues and other things. So there is a lot of difficulty in financial services in the use of AI, trying to work around it. A lot of legal issues that come up, and we're working around that. So while we want to adopt and move forward, there are barriers for us. So just wanted to highlight it, but that's where we are. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the underlining statement is the AI is inevitable. I think all the talent and all our teams have to use it one way or the other. We have another question from the audience, and anyone can choose to pick this up. How does this new phase of the GCC taking global share of responsibility changes your work culture in India? And how do global teams accept this change? Have you seen any challenges for the acceptance? So now that you've become leaders, you have global roles here. Are you changing anything in the work culture, how India handles things?
See, especially in Lowe's, nobody inside the Lowe's understand the terms called GCC. It's only outside is when we talk about GCC. Inside Lowe's is say Lowe's Mooresville office, Lowe's Charlotte office, and Lowe's Bangalore office. So every team is so integrated that they don't think that it is a offshoot, some team sitting in Ireland. Every single team is integrated, and every single team has the same KPIs what they have for India or US. So there is no KPIs, no metrics we collect at the India level. Apart from some of the things for the compliance, we have to do that. But teams are not looking at the productivity coming in from this KPIs for this particular thing. It is for finance function, it happens together. But the culture has to change, that you have to become someone who is not looked at order takers. You have to be having a domain knowledge. As a retailer, you cannot be like, I don't have anything like Lowe, so I don't understand. You got to understand those nuance of the business every single day.
Yeah. Very well said, Ankur. Thank you so much. I think time's up, and since we don't have any further audience questions, thank you so much, panel, and thank you so much, audience, for being so amazing, hearing us and sending over your questions. Thank you so much.
That was indeed an insightful discussion. It's inspiring to see how India's talent is not just contributing, but shaping to the future of global innovation. We'd now like to invite Mr. Saif Qureshi, PGP 1988, who's been an IMBA president and a convener of IMBU in the past, to please come and felicitate the speakers.